Hot top. Cleveland State, Norris Cole. Up the gate, winning gold. NMA, on the stove. Whipping cakes, onion O's. Norris Cole, 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 Norris hot top, roll a joint, push the point, back to back chips, 2-finger joints.
And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. Really exciting show today, as you probably can already hear. I, of course, am Bob McDonald, Cleveland State columnist over at More Than the Fan Cleveland. You can catch me on Twitter at Bob McDonald and over at cleveland.morethanthefan.net. And with me, as always, Jimmy Lemke from Panther U.
Hello, everybody. How's your, well, not your Sunday because this is coming on Monday. So how is your Monday?
Yes.
People who don't have microphones and are listening to this after the fact.
Yes, and you can catch Jimmy on Twitter at PantherU and at PantherU.com. And I got to say, what you just heard right at the beginning, we had a musical intro today. As many of you know, Norris Cole got his number retired on Saturday against right before the Oakland game, and what you heard, that clip you heard, was a song created by one of our local hip hop artists here in Cleveland, Grady Coe, and the song's called Norris Cole. You can catch him on SoundCloud. You can catch the whole song on SoundCloud at Grady Coe. Spelled with two D's, so it's Graddy Coe. On SoundCloud, and then you can catch him on Twitter at Grady Coe. So yeah, check it out.
Support the music, guys. Support the music.
Absolutely. I guess I shouldn't. It's always good to see. It's always good to see, some props for Cleveland State and Norris Cole, of course. And it shouldn't be surprising to any Cleveland State fan at all because in Cleveland, as we all know, if you are well known, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to have a T-shirt made about you or a song made about you. So this is well within that tradition because last year there was somebody created a song called Kyrie Irving. So this is the next natural progression. So
where's is there a Gary Waters T-shirt or a song about Gary Waters?
Not a song. There may be a T-shirt out there though.
Hey, Grady Coe, get on it. I got $10 for Grady Coe if he makes a song about Gary Waters, and I want to hear it. I think it'd be hilarious. Like, let's just do it. Why not?
There's the challenge there. Grady Coe or any of the other hip hop artists in Cleveland, because I've shouted them out at least more than once before on this podcast. Give us a Gary Waters song.
This is sort of Gary Waters related. Has Antonio Gates ever been to one of your basketball games?
He has, not that I'm aware of. No. He's a Kent State alum, so I'm of the full running assumption that he's going to Kent State games, despite the fact that obviously that Gary Waters, he paid for Gary Waters.
I was wondering because
so
we've got a tight end in the NFL who came from our team, so
you do.
We actually did a bobblehead of him at last year's game. The guys who Phil Sklar and Brad Novak who run the brand new National Bobblehead Hall of Fame. They got some Demetrius Harris bobbleheads made. We did like a Demetrius Harris. I mean, we weren't retiring any kind of. We weren't retiring his jersey or anything. I think pretty much everybody wants to forget that his senior season of 2012-13, but it is what it is. So
yes. And by the way, Norris Cole also had a bobblehead. I should be getting mine at some point in time very soon. And I would not, and to your previous point, I would not doubt that there is a There's definitely Cleveland State T-shirts. Whether there is one for Gary Waters is unknown, but if there, who will probably make it, it will be the folks over. It will be Greg Vlosich, who is kind of one of the primary T-shirt moguls here in the Cleveland area, and I might add, a former walk-on to the basketball team.
I'd like to be a T-shirt mogul. That sounds pretty awesome. That's
you know what? If you come to Cleveland, there's a pretty. We've got quite a few of them. You'd fit right in.
Are they like? Or when we're talking about the T-shirts, are we talking about like airbrush T-shirts? Or are we talking about like?
No, we're talking high. We are talking high quality T-shirts that are sold all over the country. I mean,
Really?
It's a pretty. Oh yeah, absolutely. We take our T-shirts seriously here in Cleveland. We always have. So, absolutely, and we take our hip hop here in Cleveland very seriously as well too. So just naturally that those are the things that we kind of gravitate to here in town.
Cool.
So, but the other thing. We'll actually get into the current Cleveland State roster in a bit, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the actual game, the Cleveland against Oakland. And Oakland, once again, they did to me exactly what they did against Wright State and clamped down on defense, and they won by 10 points. And I didn't even realize it, this is the 6th game in a row that they've won. They took that loss to Northern Kentucky and just, turned it around. And, now they're back in a second place tie in the Horizon League.
I think a lot of people overreacted when Wright State just pasted Oakland. It's a team that, you're prone to a bad shooting night. Everybody is. So when it happens, it's pretty glaring for a program. So Oakland had a bad night, and they're not great with the defense. They don't have perfect defense. They're definitely not as good this year as they have been in previous years. So for them to step through that, it was good to see them get back to where they are. I mean, maybe they're not the number 2 team at the end of the year, but they've done pretty well for themselves since that Wright State loss. What are we at? 6?
Northern Kentucky they lost to. They actually turned around and then beat Wright State at home. Yeah,
that's pretty
they've only played. Yeah, now mind you, Oakland still has to play Wright State at the Nether Center, and they still have to play Valpo at the Arc. So there are some clear opportunities for chances for losses there. Plus they still have to play, they do still have to play Oakland and Green Bay, and they're not completely bulletproof at home as they were last year.
Yeah.
So
a lot of tough outs. So I totally get that. That Oakland, I don't think anybody is going to be going undefeated in the second half, and that includes Valpo. It's it's just, this is too tough of a league to go undefeated, at any point. It's obviously we've only had one undefeated team in the modern Horizon League era. That was 2010 Butler, and they were a pretty good basketball team. I mean, they were one shot away from the national title. So it's really a matter of picking your spots and hoping that the losses you do take are losses that won't hurt you down the road. We just got swept by Wright State. That was a big problem for us because we were hoping going into the second half of the season in Milwaukee that we would be challenging for a bye in the second half of the season, and now at the absolute best, Milwaukee's looking at to the point where we have to do at least one game better than Wright State because that's a sweep.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be even harder now that yesterday happened. So,
and yesterday is of course the 75-71 loss at Northern Kentucky. Once again, Northern Kentucky surprising again.
We weren't expecting it, So obviously,
I don't really think anybody, honestly, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that Northern Kentucky was going to win at least 5 games in the Horizon League, I would have told you you were crazy. I gotta say, completely wrong. I gotta say that they do have a really Northern Kentucky. You can't really take anything away from them because every single week we seem to be talking about them, surprising somebody. So, yeah, and I'm sure that they will be full of more surprises coming in. I think they're, as we've mentioned in many past episodes about this dividing line between the top teams and the bottom teams, and Northern Kentucky is, even in this first year, is really starting to sort its way out of that bottom. And maybe it seems like they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, thinking that we have been predicted to finish at the bottom of the conference. Next time, do your research, guys.
Northern Kentucky, they've got good players. Jalen Billups is a fantastic basketball player. I don't think anybody was trying to say that Billups wasn't good. I didn't think going into the game or going into the season, I didn't think that he was going to be as effective as he has been. So I would say he's been a very nice change of pace. And last night, what bit us was the same thing that's bitten us all season: 3-point shooting. Except last night, again, we're talking about a team that shoots the 3-pointer fairly well.
Yes, absolutely.
And they took advantage of us. And we played with a balanced offense. The last couple of games, our teams really looked to limit the amount of 3-pointers. They've still taken some stupid ones, so we're not there yet. But it's a pretty good. We're not there yet, but we're close as far as where the offense is. But the defense, I'm sorry to say, the defense is just lagging so terribly for Milwaukee that if you were just talking about a team that was on the offensive end of the basketball, I think we'd be one of the 3 or 4 best, or one of the 2 or 3 best in the conference. If you're talking about if you were just looking at the defenses, I think we're one of the 2 or 3 worst. And you have to have balance on offense. And we've when we played Wright State the other night, we took only 18 3-pointers, which will be a lot for most teams. 18 3-pointers is actually a really low number for Milwaukee. So, we shot 50% of them because they stopped taking the dumb threes at the beginning and started waiting for them. They still take threes. When I say you got to have balance, that doesn't mean stop shooting threes. That means take better threes, take better shots. So they did. But the problem is that Milwaukee, as has been the case all season, our perimeter defense especially has been very porous. And they don't cut off passing lanes, they don't cut off driving lanes. So it's hard for us to really keep up because we have a good offense, but our defense is just so porous that if the Horizon League tournament were to start today, I just don't see us winning. I just don't see us going to the NCAA tournament and winning the conference tournament. It's not a good thing for me, in my opinion. The way I see it is I see Milwaukee having a real lag on defense. Some teams, I feel like Oakland has so many possessions and Green Bay makes so many possessions that a lot of the times those 2 schools, and Detroit does this too on occasion, not as well as the other 2, but I think that Oakland, Green Bay, and Detroit are good examples of schools that have so many possessions on the court that it doesn't matter if their defenses are bad because they're giving their offense so many opportunities anyways, and they're pushing the tempo and they're changing the game. But Milwaukee has played going into yesterday's game. I haven't looked at the numbers since because I'm just trying to get over this depression. Before going into yesterday, we were 6-4 in the conference, 10 games into the season.
Mm-hmm.
The only team we played twice was Wright State.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 10 games, only once did we hold a team to less than their season average in overall field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. Only once. And that was the Northern Kentucky game, the second game of conference season, where they started lights out hot at the beginning. They were up 9-0 and at 17-2, like really early. And then Milwaukee and the Panthers just took over. The problem being that we've just taken over, and then we took over from a game that we were all of a sudden getting swamped on. We were getting beaten up. So we have to come back. And that's been the case with the Panthers all season long. Everything's about coming back. They've taken a bunch of licks early on in the first half of games and have had to dig themselves out of deep holes. The other night against Wright State, we were down 20 at one point and dug a hole. And they had the Panthers dug themselves out of it, and they almost won. And, it was one or two plays away from possibly, winning that game. But if the Panthers hadn't dug themselves into a hole, that wouldn't happen. And a lot of the hole digging has to do with the fact that the perimeter defense is so terrible. Valpo, so there's Northern Kentucky. Valpo shot 5% worse in the game against us at the Arc, 5% worse from three. And Oakland shot 0.1% worse than their season.
And in case you were wondering, the Northern Kentucky had shot 50% from beyond the arc against Milwaukee yesterday. So 11 for 22.
That's another game where we're talking about Milwaukee not playing great on the defensive end. And it's really the perimeter. A lot of people give JJ Panoski, or according to the guy announcing yesterday on ESPN3, JJ Panowski. A lot of people give him like flack because he's not, because they perceive him to be soft or something, and that's not the case. If we didn't have JJ Panowski, we'd probably be giving up 100 points a game. maybe not that much, but we'd be giving up so much more a game, and that has little to do with the defense of other guys as much as it is to do with JJ as a very good post defender. So, but we're talking about one guy. So without anybody playing us in the post, then when he's out of the game, all of a sudden we have real problems staying in games. And the problem there, once again, is that we're back to Milwaukee not having defense. So the teams that separate themselves from the rest of the conference are Valpo, who plays strong defense and strong offense. Oakland, that mitigates its problems on defense by ramping up the amount of possessions.
But again, as to your point about Oakland, again, you have a couple of occasions where, despite the fact that many times defense is a foreign language to them, they will on occasion get some clamp down on defense, again, as they did against Wright State, and again as they did yesterday against Cleveland State. Now, Cleveland State, of course, is a completely different animal because Cleveland State doesn't really their offense is really lacking, despite the fact they're still even with the first two games where they gave up 80 plus points, they're still a top 3 defensive team in the league. Despite that, but yet they don't have the offense to go along with that, and that is something that. But you're absolutely right. That it is, you do have a mitigating, you still, despite that, those two outliers, really, you still have kind of a mitigating circumstance with Oakland, where they typically don't really they're and maybe it's because of the way that they run, the pace of their game kind of it doesn't really allow them to be able to concentrate on defense all that much, since they are really a fast moving, score points in bunches type of offense there.
Yeah, it's about putting together the kind of plan that works for your team. And Oakland doesn't have, Oakland lost Dante to graduation. So they're needing to get somebody who, they were needing to build an offense around, they were needing to build a team around the fact that they are not as good on the defensive end. And one of the way Greg Campy solved that problem is by, like I said, ramping up you ramp up the offensive possessions. You push the tempo. I mean, he couldn't do that if he didn't have Kay Felder. But of course, his team wouldn't be anywhere near as good without Kay Felder. So it's a matter of really something that works for you.
But at the same time, even when you don't have Kay Felder doing Kay Felder like things, like as was the case yesterday, where he was held to below his team's average, despite the fact scoring wise, Cleveland State was able to lock him down. He was still able to. He still got 11 assists, and Jalen Hayes compensated for his lack of offense by putting on a show of his own.
Oakland's a good adaptable basketball team, and when you have the talent that a team like that does, and they have the flexibility by having a balanced roster, they have players on the offensive end. They have players in the post, they have players in the backcourt, and all of these guys are able to do enough on both sides that they can play any number of ways. And that's how Oakland's able to do, able to beat so many teams. As beating Cleveland State may not be the same thing you need to do to beat Youngstown State. So Oakland can match up both of those teams because Oakland can, do the things they need to do to beat both of those teams. And that's one of the things I think Valpo does really well too. Is Valpo is a team that's built to beat everybody. And Valpo is also a team that's built to not rely so much on any one person. Alec Peters, who very, very well could, maybe should be in some people's minds, player of the year, Alec Peters doesn't have anything in the way of, he's not relied on completely. If Alec Peters has a bad game, they can still win going away. They beat us by 12 in a game that Alec Peters himself scored 7 points. So it's good for Valpo. It's good for the rest of us because you're talking about a team that really doesn't you're talking about a team that really doesn't play guys way too much. So all of a sudden, Valpo's looking at, how many guys even play 30 minutes a game for them? I think there may be 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
How is that going to play against teams that have some players that play 35 minutes a game? It's not going to help. It's going to be a hard thing. So beating Valpo is going to be even more difficult.
Okay, exactly. And it's going to come down to what where you're at and what you're able to do, and maybe. And this is again kind of where the neutral court comes into play, only because of the fact that there may all the stars aligning properly, there could be an opportunity there. I'm not sure if there's going to be an opportunity to there because Valpo's playing so well, but
anybody can win any one basketball game. We did see Youngstown State beat Butler, in their second national runner-up year. at the Beagley Center. So I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that, somebody's unbeatable. Valpo's beatable. It's just it's a law. It's all about percentages. If you're a rested team that just happens to also be the best team in the conference, you're just making your percentage better. Because you need Kay Fowler to play 40 minutes in that game against Valpo if they have run into them in the tournament. And if Oakland runs into the tournament and Kay Fowler's got to play 40 minutes and he's played 35 plus all season, I don't know how much he's got in the tank is what I'm saying. So I'm speaking, of course, from my point of view. We are one of 3 teams in Milwaukee. Milwaukee's one of 3 teams to win 4 games in the current Horizon League tournament double bye structure and go to the tournament. The others were Detroit, was it in 2012, and then Cleveland State in 2009.
Yep.
You guys did. And for us, it worked for us because Jordan Aaron had missed 4 of the last 5 games of the season, and he couldn't practice with the team because of his suspension. And all of a sudden, Jordan Aaron was the tournament MVP because he was rested. It was a big part of how we did. So it's hard to see a team go into Detroit and beat Valpo when Valpo is rested as well as the most balanced and probably the best team in the Horizon League tournament. But things change between now and then. You don't know. Maybe somebody gets hurt, or maybe you get some team where somebody all of a sudden comes out of nowhere and they turn into a good basketball player. And for us, Malcolm Moore in 2014 didn't play almost at all in the first half of the season. He started to play a little bit more during the Horizon League season, and then all of a sudden by the Horizon League tournament, by the time the Horizon League tournament came around, he was one of our 2 best post players, or 3 best post players, and he was really relied on in the Horizon League tournament and then in the game against Villanova. So it's about finding the pieces. And from what I hear, what you have told me before we got on, it sounds like Gary Waters is blowing up Cleveland State. Is that what?
Yeah. Here is, and I'm not really 100% sure on this one, but here's the thing. And here's the, after the Detroit game, where once again, Cleveland State starts out okay and then completely fizzles at the end. If it sounds like a broken record, it's happened pretty much every single loss. And he was not happy because he feels that he does not have the offense to be able to compete at this point at all. And that's kind of the problem, because right now you have he doesn't have any shooters. I mean, the only real pure 3-point shooter he has is Daniel Levitt, the walk-on, who's not even playing right now because he's still recovering from a knee injury. Thankfully, not torn, no torn ligaments or anything. But he's out for an extended period of time, maybe for the rest of the season. You have Rob Edwards, a freshman, who, he's getting – I think he's getting to a point where he's either kind of running out of gas, or he is not finding the shots that he's been able to originally, because of the fact that there's no other option. And, teams have kind of clued in on this. And so they can force him to – they can force him to put up shots that he may not have had to put up previously. Then you have Andre Yates, who is actually coming off an injury. I was actually surprised to see him for the Detroit game, but Andre Yates is not really a shooter. He's more of a slasher. He's usually the guy who goes in the paint. So I don't really count him as one of those primary shooters, because he can he's good for maybe a 3-pointer or 2, but that's kind of about it. And then from there you really don't have anybody, and it shows because once again, the lowest scoring average in the entire Horizon League. Still, one of the lowest 3-point shooting percentages in the Horizon League. And these are not just the Horizon. This is not just the Horizon League. These are national numbers. Cleveland State has been at or near the bottom offensively nationally among 350 teams. And so when Gary Waters looks at kind of the landscape and he sees that every game in and game out, he's getting beaten because he doesn't have the offensive power, he's looking to reevaluate. Now, mind you, of course, now next year some things are going to come into play that are already in place. First of all, Daniel Levitt will be back Levitt will be back in the rotation. Since he doesn't require surgery, he'll be healed, well rested, he'll be fine. In addition, he has a transfer from Oral Roberts, Bobby Word. He is also coming in, and he is, by all accounts, an outstanding shooter. So you're going to have that. After that, then you got some question marks. Then you begin to – because Gary Waters, he mentioned, he wants 5 shooters. And he stated, I'm paraphrasing, of course, that he only has like 1.5 right now. So the question becomes, who exactly is he going to be able to bring in? And who exactly is not going to be on this team next year? And that's kind of that took me by surprise, because that is the first time I have ever heard that in the Gary Waters era, ever. I mean, really? To the point where he wants to redo the rebuild. Because by all accounts, this was supposed to be a rebuilding season, a learning experience. And he's apparently come to learn that, man, I don't have any offense. And I'm not sure if I have any offense next year either. So there's going to be some questions as it relates to what kind of offensive production and who he's going to get offensive production from. I can come to the conclusion that Terrell Hales, he's a defensive guy. He's always going to be a defensive guy. So, and that's a Gary Waters signature. So I'm not so much. I never really kind of looked to him for defense, for offense. Always looked to him for defense, as was the case yesterday, as on Saturday, because he was the primary guy on Kay Felder, and he again was the guy to keep Kay Felder from doing Kay Felder things. But then you go a little further down the roster. I mean, he's got a redshirt freshman, Jono Jansen, who he plays all these people, and he never plays this guy, like ever. So I don't know. He's 6'9". He's supposed to be this perimeter. He's supposed to be this, flex 4 shooter type guy. And, anytime I've ever seen him play, he shoots threes and he always misses. So I'm not sure where he's at in his development, but clearly he's not anywhere near where Gary Waters trusts him to be out on the court, except for in garbage time. So that's kind of a problem.
It could just be a case of a guy not really being able to translate what he is inside, regular inside practice or something, not being able to translate
possibly
that.
Well, and there's also a transition, because he's from Australia, so he may not have made the transition from the Australian game to the American game. Again, despite the fact he's had a year to do so.
Well, you're talking about trapezoid and not a trapezoid, so I don't really know how much of a difference like the international game is. It sounds like, he's from Australia, so if he's playing the international game is very much a shooter's game. So why is that? Why is he not able to shoot here in America?
That is an excellent question to which I have no good answer, and no fan seems to be able to have an answer for that, because I would think that would be his game, and that was
talking about somebody who just has too small of a sample size at this point,
possibly, but And that may be the case, but at the same time, you have Gary Waters, who's pretty much throwing everybody out there in his rotation, all the scholarship players. 3 walk-ons this year, and still at the end of the bench is this guy. So what does it say to anybody where Gary Waters is throwing everybody out there except for him?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair question. It really is.
I mean, yeah, it is. And then, I think, and the other thing too is that, and he's already said this already, that he needs a point guard because he doesn't have a point guard because he theoretically was thinking of coming in with two point guards coming into the season, but then Kaysa Keene left for Canada and he kicked Miles Hamilton off the team. So now all he has right now is the walk-on Nelson Maxwell to fill in at that role. And,
walk-ons all over the place.
Exactly. And he's a freshman, and, you see kind of, he's also a freshman. So, he's still trying to get acclimated to the college game. And, that lends itself to some mistakes, especially, if you're a walk-on and you haven't played half the season as Maxwell hasn't. Good case in point when during the end of the Detroit game, he's running point and near the end of the game, and there was really no sense of urgency to be able to score and then convert near the end of the game. So that was again, it's the learning experience, and not to mention the fact that you don't have an upperclassman to kind of learn from as it relates to that too, because there is none. I mean, all the rest of them are, 2 guards and, guys who are trying to fit into that point guard role and just have it. So, and I think he's taken that into consideration. He has taken that into consideration. And he knows he's got to get a point guard. So from what it looks like, I think he's probably looking in the direction of a point guard who has some shooting abilities. And he's had those in the past. Charlie Lee's a good example. Cedric Jackson's a good example. Norris Cole is an obviously good example. So, I mean, so I think that's kind of the direction he wants to go with this. To where he's going to find it is unknown. Whether he's going to go the high school route or the junior college route is unknown at this point. So I think that's probably going to answer part of the question. I think the other thing that I know he's looking for, it seems like he needs to look for that 3 or 4 position that can shoot, because he had that last year a little bit in Marlon Mason. He had that in, even Anton Grady last year was starting to add the 3-point shot to his repertoire near the end of the season. And so I think ultimately, and he had that in John Harris a couple of years back, the senior transfer from Miami, who was a 6'9" kid, played the 4 and could shoot lights out. I think he might be looking in that direction as well. So there's just a lot of different things, a lot of different question marks, a lot of different uncertainty, and I can't even speculate as to who exactly is going to be on this team next year and who exactly isn't going to be on this team next year. That's, when he makes this blanket statement like that, it makes me think that, fair game on, fair game, whatever. I mean, knowing, you could take an educated guess as to, who is obviously going to be on this team next year, but man, I don't know. I mean, it's been that kind of year where I just can't tell anymore.
It's kind of surprising to know that, like, to hear like at this point in the season that somebody is going to blow up their roster. Usually that's something you hear. Like color commentators or like analysts say about a baseball team coming towards the trade deadline.
Fire sale, yeah.
Yeah, you don't really hear that from colleges where, a lot of these people that we're talking about are these kids are students on
Mm-hmm.
scholarship. A couple of them aren't on scholarship. But you're still talking about students and their education and stuff. So,
Well, see, now keep in mind here too, because this is, Gary Waters has had transfers before, without a doubt. But a lot of these and a lot of the transfer, the most recent examples I can think of are Josh McCoy and Charlie Woods. They were both. Charlie Woods never really got Charlie Woods got severely injured his freshman year. Had a real bad head injury. Never really he never really was able to kind of get into the rotation at Cleveland State. Josh McCoy was a pretty good guard, pretty good fill-in, I thought. But eventually both of those two, and again, most of the athletes do transfer. They usually transfer to a Division II school, finish up there, and end up finishing up their degrees. The one thing that Gary Waters does do is graduates all his players, including the ones that don't even go there anymore, as was the case with Charlie Woods, as was the case with Josh McCoy. I think he had Anthony Wells, who was a local kid. He went up to Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I believe he graduated from there. So I think there's probably some things behind the scenes where he's able to find situations where these kids can play and finish up their education. So it's not a matter. So it by no means, I think, is a matter of him, cutting loose and wishing saying goodbye and wishing these kids the best of luck. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's a matter. I think if he's looking at it, he's kind of evaluating and saying, okay, well, here probably saying, hey, you probably have an opportunity to play, but maybe not at this level. Let's look at some of your options at maybe some of the lower levels. I'm thinking that's probably what's going to be the case.
I do know that that happens. That's happened at our program too, where we've kind of like funneled kids toward UW Parkside in Division II or UW Whitewater in Division III, and the coaches there are great, and those kids will usually find better playing time, and in some instances,
and I think that's the other thing too, because you have instances, especially Cleveland State, where you have players near the end of the bench who probably could get more playing time at a Division II school and do extremely well in that situation, and and not just Cleveland State. Obviously, there's as you mentioned there that can be the case in any particular school in the Horizon League.
It's just how you manage the roster, but I'm to the point where I'm just kind of surprised that he was saying that to the group during the season. When you're saying out loud to all those kids' teammates that some of you aren't going to be back next year, kind of thing. That was surprising to me.
And keep in mind too, there are actually two people on this roster currently who are redshirts, who can very well graduate in May. One of them is Aaron Scales, and the other one, and this is going to make a lot of people nervous, is Andre Yates.
Yeah. It's really up to,
and honestly it's interesting because there's really been, especially even when last summer, and I heard this a couple of times. I don't know if there's any validity to it or not, but there could be some opportunities for Andre Yates to graduate from Cleveland State and transfer to another school, because the NCAA obviously has not done anything with the graduate transfer rule, and so therefore it's still in place. So theoretically he could do that. Whether he does it or not remains to be seen. I don't know.
Well, I know that in our own city, I know that Marquette, a lot of their people have been talking about getting a graduate transfer guard in the mold of an Andre Yates. So if you hear
thanks for sharing.
Marquette's name, don't like freak out. Just can't be surprised.
The season has gone so. The season just has gone in such a direction at Cleveland State this season that I'll be honest, I would not be surprised to see a name that I wouldn't have expected to see leave. That would not surprise me in the least. At the way the season has gone, it would not surprise me in the least at all.
So moving on, though, I just don't want to make this another podcast about how you program some straits.
No, please, let's not do that. But yeah, the other thing too, and I know we talked a little bit about I do want to get back to to Milwaukee, obviously, because it really is kind of a case of, where you're gonna, you're 6-5 right now. And, where do you see the Panthers going moving forward now that, you have this Wright State, Northern Kentucky road trip that didn't go as well as you wanted to at all.
No, the sad thing is we should have won both games.
And you really had opportunities to do both. It looks like. I mean,
total of 5 points. So what do you? How do you feel really bad? Is it the close of the game, or is it these really bad runs? Wright State got to a 20-point lead. Northern Kentucky erased a double-digit lead of our own. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's complacency with the Northern Kentucky game or what. I think part of Northern Kentucky, and the reason that Northern Kentucky was able to beat us, it was a pretty big game for them. It was a pretty big.
Going back to your original point about the 3-point shooting, I mean, it wasn't even Billups who did that. I mean, Billups didn't shoot a single 3-pointer. Again, it was Cole Murray, because Cole Murray, man.
When I brought up the 3-point shooting, it seems like there's always every team's got somebody who just hurts us from three.
And it's Cole. Cole Murray has been doing that to everybody this season, so don't feel bad.
It's Cole Murray there. It's any number of guys at Valpo. JT Yoho at Wright State had like 29 on Thursday night. Obviously, Mr. 3-pointers at Oakland. You have Max Hooper.
Max Hooper, who only shoots 3-pointers, I might add. He still has not attempted a shot within the arc. I think I'm really rooting for him just to go 0 for 0 within the 3-point arc. I'm rooting for that now.
We've had a bad stretch with our guards. At this point in the season, everybody's hurt, so it's really hard to say like the team is hurting and this is why they're doing poorly. I do know that because this team isn't quite as deep, we're deep enough at guard that we should be fine. But the problem is that the guys that are getting hurt are all three of the guys who have been starting for us at guard. Jordy Johnson has an oblique strain. They're not 100% sure what it is. It hasn't been last I talked to a coach, it hadn't been totally diagnosed. So we don't know exactly what it is. They know that there's something wrong with his oblique. They're calling it an oblique strain. And you see that in his game. He still plays as much as he does, but he's not he hasn't really been taking over the game as he's been. That happened to him in the Green Bay game. So there's something else that's bothering him. Akeem Springs actually missed the Oakland game. And Akeem Springs,
I know you mentioned. I know you had mentioned, maybe not necessarily on here, but on Twitter, that he's been really trying to work through some injuries.
They want to play, and I understand when kids want to play. So when Akeem Springs has a bruised knee and a strained muscle in the back of his knee, the same knee, I understand. I understand that you want to play, and I understand that this team, while we are relatively deep at the guard on the wing, Akeem Springs is really the best defender against tall perimeter players. So when we played Oakland, Max Hooper had himself a game because we just don't have anybody at his height that's fast enough to guard him. He's only shooting 3-pointers, but he's quick around the arc. So he knows how to move around. I'm not saying this is on the same level. I'm just saying it's in the same style as a guy like Ray Allen. Ray Allen knew, and I presume he still knows, how to really get himself open and stay open and be open. How to use cuts, how to use screeners in any number of ways. Max Hooper knows how to do that. Max Hooper also knows how to kind of like blend into the background and then all of a sudden come out. So, when missing Akeem really hurt us there, and I'm sure that I know that Akeem's knee is still bothering him, so a guy like Cole Murray is able to do what he does partly because of that. So having those two, and then also having Jaquan McLeod having the problems that Jaquan McLeod has. He's been nursing a hamstring for about a month. In fact, look at Jaquan's game by game numbers, you can actually pretty much tell where he was having a problem, where his problems started. So,
sure.
For Milwaukee, I think we're getting some injuries that are hard for us to deal with, and it's just a matter of getting those guys healthy. But really, the defense just has to get it. The defense just has to be there. Otherwise,
sure.
It's going to be a short one. And if we're asked to get into the CBI or CIT or maybe even 16, this 5th tournament coming around, if hopefully they can do something in it. But if they don't get the defense together, it's not going to help. And they don't need to have a great defense. They just need to defend the perimeter better, because JJ Panasi is just fine in the. They just don't have anybody who's able to really defend in the post.
Okay.
And so that's part of the problem there.
So, I'm actually glad you brought up the postseason tournaments, because I know we've still got some time left here in the conference schedule. Still have the conference tournament still to go. When you look at the Horizon League as a whole, are we still looking at Valpo, even if they lose the conference tournament, to be an at-large?
No. Valpo was. And this is not of the team's doing. Valpo has the problem that a lot of good mid-majors are having a problem with lately. And that problem is that they do not have the at-large schedule. They don't have the non-conference schedule that really affords them all the opportunities. They played, I believe it was 2 high major games, Oregon and Oregon State. They split those. Beating Oregon State is kind of like us beating Minnesota. Are you really impressed? But is it really impressive that Milwaukee beat Minnesota? Minnesota's a pushover of a Big Ten team. So just because you're in the Big Ten doesn't mean that you're, this great program.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Oregon State's having a decent year this year. I thought they were. Because they got Gary Payton II, who's a legit NBA draft prospect. So
I thought Oregon State was hovering around 500 in the Pac-12, though.
Possibly.
Well, either way, that's good. Then my apologies for mixing that up. But the last time I looked at Oregon State,
obviously is
and it's been a few weeks. I don't think Oregon State. I didn't know that Oregon State was doing better, but you're still talking about one quality win there. You're talking about quality win with Iona, but really Valpo is missing. Valpo wasn't able to get the teams they needed on their schedule. They needed to get somebody in the arc that was, if not an at-large caliber team, somebody who was going to be a for sure surefire win of their conference. They don't have that team. They don't have They just don't have the road games that they need. You need to have a bunch of road games. You got to win almost all of them. Valpo's good, but I just don't know if they're going to have. I don't know if when you come to Selection Sunday and you're watching all of the teams that are on the forecasts. You show you get Joe Lunardi on ESPN, and he shows his roster. These are the players these are the teams that have a shot, and this team's got a shot. Maybe they didn't do so well in their conference, but they've got their X and X. They're 4-2 against the top 50. Valpo doesn't have 6 games against the top 50. Valpo's not going to have enough of a sample size for the selection committee to go and say, yeah, well, Valpo for sure would win this. You're looking at another loss outside, because if they don't, a Horizon League tournament loss would mean they'd be losing to somebody who's outside the top 50, because the Horizon League probably isn't going to have anybody else in the top 50. I think the top team after Valpo is 85 or 86.
No, way further down than that. Are you talking about RPI or are you talking about Pomeroy?
I'm talking about RPI.
Okay, yeah. I think I checked this morning. Oakland is the second best, and they're at 132 at this point.
Really that low?
Yes, they are. Which actually leads me to my next question, which is you have all of these other teams. Other teams. Are we looking at a situation? Say, for example, if Valpo does run the table, does actually win the regular season title and win the conference tournament and gets into the NCAA. Are we looking at a situation, if that indeed is the case, where you're going to have Valpo, who's going to be an NCAA team, and then you have the other teams where you're not going to see an NIT bid and you're going to see a whole bunch of CBI bids? And if so, at this point in time, who do you think would be kind of qualify in that particular realm?
Well, I think there's 6 teams that are going to the postseason.
You really think so?
Yeah, I think that Valpo's obviously there. Oakland is obviously there. Wright State's obviously there. I also think Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Detroit will probably all go to the postseason. We're adding 16 teams to the postseason this year, so there's 16 more opportunities.
So now refresh my memory on the addition of the 16 teams. What is the story behind that?
So the BD Global, which runs the Gulf Coast Showcase preseason tournament that we're in, is actually starting a 5th postseason tournament. They're calling it the Vegas 16.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, it's all in Vegas at the UNLV Thomas and Mack Center, but really, it's more opportunity. The fact of the matter is, there's 351 teams in Division 1.
Yeah,
you have to have more. It's not fair to have teams that are not able, that don't get the games. It's not fair to those teams like, say, an IPFW that can't get that may win 20 games but don't have the profile to get in the NIT. It's not fair for them to have to get stuck, without a postseason. I think at 351 you have, or how many teams do we have in the postseason now? We have 68 in the NCAA.
And 32 in the NIT, and then you got, what is it? Is it 30?
In the other 2.
Hey, I'm sorry. I thought it was only 16 in one and 32 in the other. I could not remember to save my life.
I thought it was 16 and 16, but it might be 32 in the CBI. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I thought it was.
Yeah, the CIT is a weird thing too, because the CIT I've always found to be a weird thing because it's a tournament where it's like whose line is it anyway? The points, the the games are fun and the points don't matter. I don't know, because you have so many random kind of things that don't even go by record or seeding or anything like that. It's just such a weird tournament that is at CIT.
The CBI is the one that's weird to me because the championship isn't a championship game; it's a championship series, best of 3. It's cool because if you get to the championship game, if you get to the championship in the CBI, you have not one, but you don't have one, but potentially 3 more games, and one of them is a home game for sure. So I think that's really cool because you got to win at home and you got to win on the road. So it's just I think it's a cool thing. It's a little different than some of the others, but I like that there's opportunity. Does everybody want to be in the CBI or the CIT or this Vegas 16? No, nobody wants to be in those.
No, ironically, especially not the high majors, because they always make a stink every year about not wanting to be in it. Like Indiana doesn't want to be in anything but the NCAA or NIT.
Yeah, it's screw those teams. Guys like Tom Crean are just always going to try and do something to make themselves look cooler, and one of the things they can do is to diss one of the tournaments by saying, "Oh no!"
Now, mind you, this is a guy who wanted to cut the nets down before he won the Big Ten tournament, so he's always going to be remembered for that. So no matter how cool he thinks he is, we always have that in our memories. So he will never be cool.
I remember him always because of how he ducked us until we went 9-22 when he was at Marquette. But really, at the end of the day, he wouldn't be going to the CIT anyways because the CIT only lets in mid majors and low majors.
That's true.
I'm not sure what the requirements are going to be for this Vegas 16, but I do know that it's more opportunity. So my guess is 6, and however the conference shakes out, we may get 7. There may be a 7th team getting in. Northern Kentucky, maybe they're going, or maybe they're eligible for the postseason if secondary tournament.
There is actually a discussion going on right now in that the same area, not necessarily Northern Kentucky, but Grand Canyon University in the WAC, where Dan Marley is the head coach, where they're just running roughshod over the WAC, but they're still in the probationary period, and they're in the probationary period, so they cannot, even if they wanted to, they couldn't get into the NCAA or NIT. That said, a CBI or a CIT is still sounds theoretically within the realm of possibility.
It's funny. I should bring up Grand Canyon University because we did I talk about them when we played them in the scrimmage?
No, you didn't.
Fun story. About 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say it was just 3 years ago because I think it was Grand Canyon's first year in Division 1. Our then director of basketball operations, Chip McKenzie, who's now the athletic director at West Dallas Central High School, just about a mile from my house. He's telling me about the Grand Canyon and how they were coming into Milwaukee for a scrimmage. Now, for those who don't know, Grand Canyon's a for-profit school.
Yes, it is.
Division 1. So.
Before you say anything else, anybody who wants to know anything about Grand Canyon University, go to PBS, go to Frontline, and go to the Frontline show, College Inc., and that is pretty much all you can. And that was done in 2011. All you need to know about Grand Canyon University as a for-profit school, you will find out from that particular thing. But go on.
So Grand Canyon comes to us and says, "Well, we do the scrimmage. We offer them to practice in our building the day before the practice." And they're like, "No, we're actually going to go practice at the Cousins Center." The Cousins Center just so happens to be the practice facility of the Milwaukee Bucks. So somehow Grand Canyon was able to get they were able to fly in Friday night. They had a scrimmage with us Saturday morning, and Friday at some point, they practiced at the Bucks practice facility, not at just any ho hum practice facility. They practiced at the Bucks facility. So
and you know why, right? Because at one point in time, Grand Canyon University was printing money, so they're good for it.
You gotta let me tell you the whole story.
Oh, okay.
So Grand Canyon covers. Grand Canyon is obviously this for-profit school in Phoenix. They're a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were a decent team in Division II. Obviously, when they're coming up to Division I, there's a reshuffling that goes on.
Obviously.
They flew in, practice at the Bucks facility the next morning, come with us, play us, and then leave. A lot of teams will do that. Most of the time, you're busing because it's just a scrimmage, so you're usually playing a team that's from somewhere in the area.
Sure.
Sometimes high majors will play teams from farther away. We've done our private scrimmages against like Northwestern, I think not Illinois one year, Minnesota one year. We've done their private scrimmages against. We try and get the best team we can get that's somewhat close. With Grand Canyon, obviously they're nowhere near Milwaukee.
No.
So he's telling me about this team. They flew in the afternoon on a Friday, had practice. They had dinner after practice at a 5-star restaurant here in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
After the 5-star restaurant, they stayed at the most expensive hotel we have in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And every player, they didn't double up. Every player had his own bed, his own hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, they had breakfast at another 5-star restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Came over, played us in a scrimmage, and then they got back on the Grand Canyon University's athletics department private jet.
Yep.
Back to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
It's a program that is loaded, and it's not just because they're for-profit.
Yep.
For-profit, so they understand that. They understand what a lot of academics don't. That basketball is the marketing arm of the university. A lot of universities in this country, and most of them in Division I, do not understand that athletics is the marketing arm of the school. So you have this problem where you have a lot of players, a lot of universities that won't spend diddly on their athletics program, especially their basketball program, which is the way you get the best bang for your buck as far as your marketing dollar, if you think of it like that. Those schools will not spend any money doing it. Grand Canyon, obviously, by what they did during the scrimmage, they're spending quite a bit of money. So,
of course.
Turns out we find out that Dan Marley is really mostly a figurehead for this program. He's a coach, but really he's a figurehead because it's about having a former NBA player that kids all know.
Sure.
And that having him on, as the coach of the team reflects well on them.
Well, yeah.
Itself is run by one of the faculty members in the athletic department. The faculty member at the time who was running running the program or helping the program was a guy named Jerry Colangelo, who, if you don't know who Jerry Colangelo is, he just so happens to be at the same time the director of USA Basketball. How does Grand Canyon University get to have the director of USA Basketball helping their program? Well, Jerry Colangelo is a member of the Grand Canyon University faculty. So because he's a member, he's allowed almost unfettered access to the basketball program.
Of course.
So Grand Canyon players, if you go play at Grand Canyon, you're rubbing elbows with the elite basketball players. Your LeBrons, they play pickup basketball against them all the time. Your LeBrons, Kevin Durant's, all these guys know the kids at Grand Canyon because they're spending, their summers playing pickup with these kids. So how does that help recruiting? It helps recruiting in a huge way.
Sure.
obviously practice is where you're spending a lot of your time. So it would be like building the best practice facility in the country. You're rubbing elbows with the best players, and that's how you're going to do it. And Grand Canyon also says, we're going to treat you like kings. You come here and you're going to be eating the best meals. You're going to be flying the best you're going to have the best travel. You're going to be you're going to be staying in the. That's a great way to recruit basketball players.
Well, here's the other thing about and it's funny, and the other part, and what's ironic, of course, is that ever since the whole for-profit, because I probably know more about for-profit schools than anybody should ever know. But the thing about Grand Canyon is they're a for-profit, but they are looking to get back into being a nonprofit again. Probably because of the fact that, the federal government is, clamping down on for-profit schools like you wouldn't believe. So I think they're
schools are degree mills, and they should. I don't know if every single one of them should be shuttered, but they should have to be at the same. They should have to have the same kind of academic requirements that the rest of us do, and they should have to treat students same way the rest of us do, or better. And they shouldn't have basically they shouldn't be allowed to basically be bandit universities. We talk about bandit programs like Louisville or Kentucky or some of these other basketball programs, but some of these for-profit universities are bandit universities. You're basically going and you're learning something. You're taking your money for not much return.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of. Jimmy, there's a lot of things. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I know, and there's a lot of different things I can say about that, but I think instead, we'll go just kind of wrap this up.
Well, I'm just saying, a for-profit school has some built-in advantages that we don't have, so it's good for Grand Canyon. And I'm just saying, I wasn't surprised because I knew of this connection when we had them up here for the scrimmage a few years ago. I knew what kind of program they were going to be. I mean,
sure.
That director of basketball ops said to me in the same conversation. He says, Arizona State shaking in their boots at Grand Canyon University. That program is scared of Grand Canyon. This for-profit school has to market. Marketing is everything for a for-profit school. So if you have a nationally prominent basketball program, it's huge. So that's just I didn't want to extend it too much longer. I just wanted to finish.
All right. Well, So that'll close us out for this week. Tune in next week. Remember, you can always catch us on 4lights.fm. Be sure to subscribe, man. And we're iTunes, Stitcher.
Please
tune in. Yes, well, and we'll see you next week, and we'll see who else we can get on. If you want to come on as a guest, let us know. And if you have any suggestions, hey, feel free to give us a buzz, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Totally. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Cleveland State, Norris Cole, up the gate, winning gold, and on the stove, whipping cakes, onion O's, Norris Cole, 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 Norris hot top, roll a joint, push the point, back to back chips, 2 finger joints, peace. West, whip it left, got a check on the east. Cleveland a death, triple rep with my sneaks. Gold on my P's, gold on my sleeves. Dough in my jeans, I got hoes on me. Ain't too many with a style like me. Sound like me, tryna sound like me. Hit 'em with a hesitation. Ankles breaking, shaking, baking. Back to the basics. I spent that time in the basement. Started you with the replacements. Play bitch, they miss. Trey hit, straight swish. Cleveland State, Norris Cole. Out the gate, winning gold. And a mate on the stove. Whipping cakes, onion O's. Norris Cole, 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 Norris hot top, got the hot top, got the heat, ain't no stopping me, fool my socks elite, 2 twins on top of me, that's a sauce lease. Say he blocking me, well I got the see. Spot up, butter, pull up. He put what he could up. Then I put the hood up. Then I roll the good up. When the whole thing got to go rings. Popping champagne, shorty in a road game. Cleveland State, Norris Cole. Out the gate, winning gold. And a mate on the stove. Whipping cakes, onion O's, Norris Cole, 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 Norris hot top. Yeah, feel me. You know what time it is. Ready, Cole, AK, the heavy left. Hold up. Chopper on. Gotta chopper on. Chopper on. Cook. Chopper on. Break it, chopper on. Chopper on. Cook. Chopper on. Break it, chopper on. Chopper on. Cook. Chopper on. Break it, chopper on. Chopper on.